Hey, everybody. You're about to hear a brief retelling of the movie 12 Feet Deep. Enjoy watching. Manager McGrady is posting signs at the neighborhood public pool informing people that it would be closed during the holiday weekend. Bree is having the most fun of all the swimmers, but she stops to check her blood sugar levels. She considers taking off her diamond ring before diving back into the ocean. McGrady catches cleaner Clara red-handed as she tries to take money from the misplaced wallets in the lost and found section. She must still complete her shift for today, but he now regrets complimenting her to her parole officer and chooses to terminate her. Jonna, Bree's sister, is waiting in her car in the parking lot, debating whether or not to go inside. She gives it a lot of thought before deciding to follow her sister and place her phone in the glove box. Bree is glad they get to swim together again because Jonna used to be in treatment and the sisters haven't spent much time together recently. Bree persuades Jonna to let go and enjoy herself despite her initial negative attitude brought on by her problematic home life and the children annoying grown-ups by racing about the pool. The sisters have a good remainder of the afternoon and enjoy themselves in the pool till McGrady informs them it's time to depart. The pool is meant to stay open until 7, but Jonna points out that it closes early for the holiday weekend. McGrady tells her to brush up on her reading skills. After the sisters exit the water, Bree realizes she wants to show Jonna her ring, but she can't locate it in her luggage. They continue to dry off while they wait. McGrady encourages the sisters to hurry up, but they ignore him because everyone else has already departed. Bree jumps in to get the ring when Jonna examines the pool and discovers it lodged in the metal grill. Jonna steps in to assist her after she tries desperately to remove it but is unable to do so. McGrady starts to close up after taking one last glance around the pool area and noticing that no one is there. The sisters are still having trouble untangling the ring, and while they work on it, Jonna's hair gets tangled, diverting their attention from the fiberglass lead that is gradually filling the pool. They are now stuck since it is too late for them to swim up. The sisters, in a panic, strike the pool cover and cry out for aid, only to discover that McGrady has vanished. Following a disagreement over what to do, Jonna begins to feel a little queasy and becomes quite alarmed upon realizing that McGrady purposefully left them here. After Bree soothes her, they attempt to force up the cover by swimming to the center of the pool, but it is constructed of solid fiberglass and won't budge at all. Bree's next thought is to examine all the edges and seals for any weak points, but everything seems to be in good condition, aside from a pair of swimming trunks. They eventually discover there is a condensation hole in the cover, but it doesn't make it go away either, so Bree proceeds to take the plastic cover off of a hole in the pool wall. She makes a tool that can fit through the hole to try to saw it by breaking it in half. Bree is working, and Jonna keeps complaining, which leads to a fight. Bree believes that Jonna tossed the ring into the pool out of envy since Jonna can't tolerate that Bree moved one while she was in treatment. As Jonna takes up the sawing and cuts her hand, an angry Bree jumps in and manages to remove the ring from the grill. When Bree returns, she notes that although the grill could be heavy enough to shatter the fiberglass, she lacks the strength to remove it. Before they can get into another fight about Jonna's refusal to assist, something noises. As it happens, Bree's phone rings and it's her fiancé David calling. He leaves a voicemail that he would be arriving home late due to a workplace dinner. The sisters cannot, however, count on him to realize they are leaving anytime soon. Bree leaps in again, desperate, but her attempt to remove the grill is unsuccessful. After many hours, the building's lights go off as night descends outside. Bree hears the ringing of David's phone calls, and Jonna is again whining, this time about how much she dislikes David. When Jonna realizes that Bree doesn't seem well, she wonders what's wrong, and Bree admits that she was given a diabetes diagnosis while Jonna was in treatment. She had to get her injection quickly to avoid going into a diabetic coma. Clara returns to the building in the meanwhile, but she isn't putting much effort into completing her tasks. Now let's go back to the sisters. They are cutting the hole in turn. Jonna, who can't recall anything from the day their father passed away, is curious about what actually transpired as she examines the charred wounds on Bree's arm. Bree attempts to sidestep the topic, but in the end, she describes what occurred and calls their dad a monster. Their father had come home that evening inebriated, smoked a cigarette, and then passed out. He didn't shout since he was so inebriated that he was unaware that he was burning when the cigarette spilled on his pillow and sparked the fire. When Bree attempted to wake him, her arm burned. Bree's phone rings, and Clara walks into the pool room at that very time. She hears the girls calling for assistance as she approaches to take it, so she stops to ask her a few questions to give herself some extra time to take Bree's wallet. But when she realizes the security cameras are on, she stops herself. After returning to the pool and asking Bree for her phone password, Clara proceeds to the control room to turn off the cameras and turn on the lights, saying she is only trying to assist. Bree gives her the number, but Clara plays David's messages instead of phoning the police. Clara stops the taunting and explains her predicament when Jonna starts screaming abuses at her. If Bree provides her the ATM pin, she will save the sisters since she is having problems finding a job after being released from prison and she is in dire need of money. Clara switches off the lights and the warmth and threatens to let the sisters shiver through the night since they won't play her game. Bree gives her the pin out of desperation, and Clara walks off with her pocketbook. The sisters attempt to cuddle together for warmth, but she doesn't switch the heater back on. After several hours, Bree's body hurts so much from the cold. Jonna jumps in, determined to try to remove the grill, but she is too afraid and doesn't even come close. She hurries to wake Bree up when she finds out that she's fallen asleep. Jonna then considers herself useless and acknowledges she couldn't even try to take responsibility for the circumstance, but Bree reassures her she's okay. After that, Jonna resumes using the shard to cut the hole, saying it's the only thing keeping her warm. When Bree insisted that they discuss their problems, Jonna said that she had tried to self-delete since she used to see monsters everywhere. She still feels as though there is a monster inside of her, representing the mistreatment she endured from her father. Jonna said she will always remember their father's voice. Clara is the only person that appears on the hole, startling the sisters in the process. She is upset because Bree only has $80 in her bank account and goes on a tirade, telling the girls that the world doesn't owe them anything and that they are not exceptional for having troubles. Subsequently, she acknowledges that she could abandon them there and heads to the control room. Desperate, Jonna uses the plastic shard against the pool wall to sharpen it and then acts like she's having a breakdown. She spoke extremely quietly to get Clara's attention while sobbing and apologizing, saying she has something vital to impart. Jonna stabs her with the shard as soon as she puts her ear on the hole. Clara bolts to the toilet to check on her wound after screaming in agony. Enraged, she returns to the control room to get her revenge, setting off the automatic pool cleaning system and drowning the girls in chlorine. The sisters attempt to block the jets with their hands and the swimming trunks they discovered earlier in an attempt to stay afloat, but the jets are too powerful and force them back. Bree faints and begins to drop all of a sudden, and Jonna has to hold her up and force her back to awareness. Clara ultimately realizes this is more than a practical joke when the girls inform her that she is killing them and it is becoming difficult for her to breathe. She then switches off the cleaning system. After that, in return for their freedom, Clara demands to see Bree's ring. Bree offers Clara the ring against Jonna's objections, but Clara hasn't let them out yet. She switches off the lights once again and promises to do so when she's ready. Bree hears sirens outside and the pool cover finally moves a few moments later. When David rushes in to help her, he assumes she is drowning since he cannot see Jonna. When Bree wakes up and realizes it was all a dream, she sobs because she is too weak to save herself. Then she checks on her sister and learns Jonna is pondering using the plastic shard to self-delete. Thankfully, Bree is able to persuade her out of it by assuring her that she would always support her. The females exchange hugs and apologize to one another. Bree's phone keeps exploding with David's texts as Clara is trying on the ring in the meantime. Clara goes back to the pool to break up this transaction immediately after his final one claims he will contact 911. The sisters apologize for labeling Clara a monster and act as though she is correct and that there was a purpose for what transpired. After crying, Clara walks to the control room to enter the code, but it is not accepted. She gives the awful news to the sisters after becoming extremely agitated, but she declines to notify the police since she fears returning to prison after the last experience nearly killed her. Clara gives up, dropping Bree's belongings on the seats before walking away. Jonna keeps swimming for hours on end to keep her body moving and warm. But Bree is getting weaker and weaker, and when Jonna arrives to see how she's doing, Bree gets so lightheaded that she confesses. She wanted to take action since she was constantly aware of what their father had done to Jonna and was repulsed by it. Their father had really tried to get up the night of the fire and move, but Bree restrained him so he would burn to death and the girls would be freed from his terrible ways at last. Jonna is moved by the gesture and feels compelled to give her sister more effort. She leaves her resting on the buoys and gets back to work on the grill. After a few unsuccessful attempts, Jonna has an epiphany. She has to surface in order to breathe. She uses the swimming truck she saved earlier to wrap around the bars of the grill so she can pull safely and without straining her hands. The grill gradually begins to move, and after much tugging, Jonna manages to remove it and lifts it triumphantly to the surface, only to find Bree comatose. Thankfully, Jonna wakes her sister up by quickly giving her mouth-to-mouth. After that, Jonna hits the fiberglass cover over the hole with the grill, causing it to fracture and then shatter. However, because the resulting gap is little, Jonna is injured when she tries to break the pieces apart and make a larger hole with her arm. After Bree passes out once again, Jonna has to drag her out of the water, and as soon as they are outside, she runs to fetch her medication from Bree's bag. Bree finally wakes up when she injects it into her leg, and there are a few terrifying seconds during which nothing happens. Clara comes back at that point and aims a gun at them out of fear that the sisters would report her to the authorities. Clara lowers the gun and returns the ring to them after Jonna says some moving comments about Bree being all she has left in this world. After that, Jonna calls the police using Bree's phone and orders Clara to leave before they get there. Bree wakes up on a stretcher a short while later. Jonna reveals her that she has found the ring and that they have finally slain the monster after the paramedics check on her.